If you're watching this video, it means that my experiment was successful. This right here is a Bibury multi-tool, very similar to the Leatherman Wave. It's the BI2038A. Sorry for the white balance change there. What we're going to be testing today is whether these parts fit into a Leatherman Wave frame, because that's going to give us some options for future modding projects. And like I said, if you're watching this, then it was at least somewhat a success. And while I don't know whether this is going to be a success, I guess you already know whether or not this is going to be somewhat of a success. Is that confusing enough for you? So I'm going with some T8 drives, or T8 drivers. That does seem to be working well. The T9s went in, but they did seem to slip easy, so we're just going with the T8s. Awesome. There is our parts. Let's grab our parts tray, because eventually we'll probably want to put this back together. I'm just going to crack the other side free. And we'll do the tools first, because that's most important. If the pliers don't fit, that's A-okay. Not really getting a huge benefit from the Bibury pliers as far as I'm aware. Let's get that bit saved, or that screw saved. And we'll get the vise out of the way momentarily. Let's start diving in. So this pocket clip is held in by the pivot. If I pop this pivot free, they are not keyed in any way, so you will need that second screwdriver, and you can spin both sides at once. Let's open this up. I'm going to try and bring this whole tool stack out at once. That's not going, so let's try popping everything free and then removing that pin. Oh, that's interesting. You see that lock bar over-rotated a ton. We've got one washer on this side. Looks like there would have been a washer on each side. Not 100% sure. There's a washer here and here, but not one between the two flat screwdrivers. There's actually, I'm either missing one or I'm not sure. Okay. Anyway, moving right along, we do have these kind of caps that slide in behind the frame, different from the Leatherman Wave. Let's just see what happens. Actually, let's compare it here. So I've got the can opener from the Leatherman Wave and the can opener from the Bibury. And let's take a look at that geometry. That is strikingly similar, though maybe a little bit oversized on the Bibury. Okay, only one way to find out for sure whether this is going to work, so let's dive right in. I want to slide our, which way do these go? That goes there. Just going to put the end cap on this Leatherman Wave. And I'm doing a two-tone build here just for funsies. Let's start stacking in the pieces. I'm interrupting here from the future. I did try putting it together, and one thing I discovered is that the opening of the Bibury is about 2 or so millimeters more than the opening on the Wave. So like 9.13. If we look at the Wave, we are at, what, 7.5. Earlier I got readings that were closer to 2 millimeters. So what we're going to do is put this back together on the Wave without the can opener. And if you know me, you know that is A-okay with me. I do not mind not having the can opener. So I've just got a washer in place to start here. And we'll go ahead and drop in the small flat screwdriver. And that can opener was just about 2 millimeters. So it was kind of the perfect choice, aside from the fact that I've never used a can opener on a multi-tool in my life. I know some of you guys like it, and I won't argue with you on it. To each their own. That's the point of, that's the entire point of my store. But it's not for me. So, whoops, that's annoying. Just completely threw the pivot out of the way, but we got lucky and can drop it back in place. Awesome. Let's grab another washer before the scissors. So I'm just going to set that down. We'll grab some washers. Just gonna all I'm doing is backing that pivot up ever so slightly, sliding that washer on, and then pushing that pivot back through. And this is keyed, so it doesn't need to be in a particular orientation to go all the way through, but we can deal with that in just a moment. I'm going to set that down. Let's take a look at the scissors. I just want to make sure I've got the spring aligned in the correct direction. So it should go like so. No? Maybe? There we go. So those dimples should align with the cutouts in the frame there. And yeah, it should work once it's compressed. Okay. Yeah, that seems right. It seems like it's going to keep it open, but maybe that's a feature and not a bug. So I'm going to put this in the locked position. We'll unlock it in just a moment. So I'm just backing that pivot out. So there's enough room to slide in the scissors. I think we've got it. There we go. We're through the scissors. Release that locking tab and flipping the scissors closed. See if they should be able to drop in somewhere, but we'll have to confirm. Again, you guys know more than me about whether this works, so I'm just going to use a punch to align that pivot a little better. So I can push it all the way through. It's close, but not popping all the way through. And I think what we're going to need to do is add a washer before the scissors. Just going to use our screwdriver here to, oh, that's the wrong bit now because we swapped tools. Just grab a bit by itself, that's enough. Just to turn that pivot until it drops into place and pokes all the way through. So that is the goal, but we are running into some jumbling here. You can see there that that scissors is not going all the way closed. And I believe that is because it is hitting that little pip that comes up right there. So we may have to toy around with that just a little bit. I'm wondering if it was wedged firmly against the frame, if we would have better luck. But I'm not thinking we will. Interesting that that would be an issue. Yeah, so it will close all the way, but we will have to remove that pin to get reliable use. Actually, once I did it, it worked just fine. So that means we need a little bit of a spacer here. I'm going to pause here. We'll come back once I've got a spacer in and see how everything works on this side of the tool. All right, so we did get that closed up, and you can see the flat screwdrivers. Everything is working appropriately. Not the perfect lockup, but a decent lockup. And those close up just fine. One bigger issue with the scissors, you can see that tab there is actually pressed over quite a ways to the left. It's actually dropped into this cutout where the liner lock is. So you have to almost wedge it out and press it to the right in order to release that. And again, it does not sit down as far as I'd like. I'm thinking that's because of this pin, though I'm not certain that there's not something else blocking it up. So that's that side tested out. Let's jump over to the other side of the wave that we're going to be building and see what we can do about this 1/4 inch bit driver, because I think that's something that a lot of people are interested in seeing. So all we need to do is pop this pivot free, which is very much bound up. Was not expecting that. Let's see if we spin it. If it gives a little bit of freedom. All right. When in doubt, use the center punch to pop it free and throw it across the room. That pocket clip did come free as well. And now let's see what parts are hiding in here. It looks like we have two, as I throw them across the room, thin washers. This one's stuck inside. And one flew across the table. So we'll throw those washers in there because I don't think we're going to have room for them. And then here is the real test of time. I think we know how this is going to go. Yeah, too thick to fit, but maybe just barely. I wonder if we can make this work. Because it is by the thickness of the frame. If you wanted to sand this down or file this down, you might have a chance. Although, yeah, it's going to bind in there quite tightly. Let's just proceed and see what happens. Okay, so I was able to put it in upside down. Let's see if I can put it in right side up this time. I want that nail nick facing upwards. And you can see right here where our issue is going to be. That is squeezed up at the front. If it was squeezed at the back, it might actually work, but that's going to provide more leverage to the tool than is necessary, and going to be quite difficult to open that up. I don't even have a pivot in there, and I can't get that open. Oh, that would be tough. But by golly, it does open and lock and click into place. Oh, we're close. We are so very close. Let's try a rebar frame. I've got a rebar frame. And those have way more clearance. Uh-oh. We might be onto something here. Hold on. Let's keep our theme going. This has become a full build video now. Oh, that one's broken. Hold on. Let me get... Okay. Black frame. Silver tool. Why couldn't we do that? Oh, I've got so many ideas now. We're going to keep this a test video because I'm going to do the full video on Mod Monday, I think, once I have a better idea of what I'm doing. But I bet this works. Let me grab some spacers. I think I have some spacers. I know I have tons of spacers. I'm going to grab the thicker spacers just to start. And let's grab some pivots from the Leatherman Rebar. Again, we're going with this two-toned look here. And let's slot those in. Where's my tweezers? This video has taken a turn, but I'm kind of excited for the turn that it has taken. So we'll drop that in. Oh, we're going to need way more spacers. So we're going to do 2 spacers to start. Obviously, if we were going to do this build for real, I could find some tools to fill in some of these gaps. So we could put perhaps the saw or the file from the rebar in here. Would be quite good. But I just want a proof of concept on this. So we get another washer going in. And that is, I'd say that's close enough for jazz. So let's line up our pivot. Just going to line that up till it drops a little bit further in. put our pivot screw in place. And tighten things up. This could be a very compelling reason to do, we did a super surge in a recent video. If I remember, I will put it up here. And you could do the same thing with the wave and rebar. Combine those two handles. And now you've got quite an interesting tool that has the full-size bit driver. The only drawback of this bit driver is it does require that ball detent, which I'm not a super big fan of, but I think that's the test. Oh, we can try one other test. I need to check this size. Is that a T10 or is that bigger? That is bigger. I think that's going to be a T15. I need to see what I have on hand here. I want to test to see if the large tools from the Bibury, that is indeed a T15. Let's find out if those are compatible with the Wave frame as well. So, clamping this back down in my vise here. Hopefully you can see that okay. Need another T15. I believe I have them. I always keep on hand 2 of these bit kits from Harbor Freight. They're the security bit kits. I keep 2 of them because every once in a while when we're dealing with a lot less common tools, for me at least, I find it really helpful to have the extra bits available. So let's crack this side open and see what we find out now. This is an interesting test. We'll do the full build in a Mod Monday, so consider subscribing so you don't miss that when it comes out. But this was a bit of a test here. I've just got the serrated blade. It did come with a washer we won't probably bother with right now. Let's just find out if this geometry is compatible. So if I pull out the serrated blade from the Wave, we can compare those, and they do look close enough. I don't know if this was ground improperly or if that's by design. Can you see that it's got, kind of takes a turn there in the middle? Let me check the other side and see if the file has the same sort of distinct cut. It does. I'm not sure why they did that. But if it happens twice, I'm assuming it's not a coincidence. So let's drop that in place. Let's go ahead and grab the file too, why not? While we're here. And slot that into the other side. They do appear to fit. I'm not going to throw any washers in just because I don't need to. And there's going to be our roadblock. Sorry, I did that all off camera. There's going to be our roadblock. The pivot from the Leatherman Wave does not fit through. I just tried that 3 times. Why did that not work a second ago? Never mind. Ignore me. Oh, this is the wrong pivot. That's why it worked now. The pivot from the Leatherman Wave is too large a diameter and won't fit through these holes. So we'll have to figure out another option for that. That is it for today's test video. Didn't go where I expected, but we did show that you can use these Bibury components in a Leatherman Wave without too much of a headache in certain circumstances. And very cool to see that that bit driver fits on a rebar without much issue at all. So, a little bit of a bite on the lockup, but nothing too great. That's going to set us up for a future Mod Monday video. Like I said, if you guys want to see more of these, make sure to subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.